Alright.
Hey, welcome to Bug and Mike Experience. You pulled Steven.
I did. Experience sports like you never have before.
Where the buck stops.
And the mic drops.
Damn. So we're
Wow.
clear all the times I forgot. 18 episodes, 19, one of the two. Here's his first back. Man, what a way to start. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Well, how was your week?
That was a great way to start it.
It was a great way. Nice comic relief. The awkward pause where I was like, oh no, I'm coming now.
That's what she said.
Oh.
It's been a good week. Busy. Hasn't been a whole lot going on with most of the sports, so it is kind of, we are in that little stage where we're going to be filling some of the time in with stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So-
we'll get into the draft, talk about some baseball, some big American soccer stuff going on, and then you've got some pop culture stuff.
Yeah,
also.
I got a bunch of pop culture stuff. So last week, Extraction 2 came out with Chris Hemsworth on Netflix.
Okay, I've heard.
So,
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it. They were good.
First one was amazing. The second one is just as good.
Is
Like
it? Okay,
if
I'll
you're
check
going
these
in
out.
for just an action flick, that's what it is. If you're wanting more substance, it's not what it is.
All right.
It's an action flick. It's kind of like an old school, like Arnold Schwarzenegger type, just action flick.
We'll write that down in the notes. Extraction with Thor.
There you go.
He's always
Yeah.
Thor.
Yeah.
Like.
It's actually really good. I enjoyed it.
All right.
One of the other things that came out today was Marvel Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
So, we're finally starting to get some of the tie-ins to what we're going to be seeing in the next phase of Marvel, or this coming phase.
We came off a greatness. We kind of went through the lull phase, and now we're gonna start picking it up. I think we're starting to get.
I
Really
already
good.
watched it. He has not.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that, because you can watch it, and then we can talk about it next week. Or
Oh, for sure.
You know.
I'll 100% watch it.
it
Probably
was
tonight.
it's good.
It's good. Yeah.
It's
I
good.
mean, Nick Fury's in it. Nick Fury hardly ever lets me down.
I'll tell you what, it's the best is the last maybe like 5 to 10 minutes of it.
Okay.
That's probably the best part. Like, there's a lot of build up because you're learning some of this stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's the
first
first
episode,
episode.
you're gonna be
So,
a little rough.
You're learning a lot of it, and then like the last like 10 minutes or so is probably like really good.
Okay, cool. All right. have
And
to
then
be ready for
after that, we got a couple other movies coming out. Craven the Hunter. That trailer just dropped.
I haven't seen that, but I've heard. I know it's the same guy that played the Flash in Age of Ultron.
Yes.
So getting to pull multiple Marvel cameos, whether it is different universes, props. There's money there.
This one, like, I don't know.
I think they're
It
doing
was-
these because they saw so much success from Venom. Like that first Venom movie was very good. The second one was okay, but then from my understanding, Morbius was awful. Like I never even got a chance to watch it, and I've heard
I
so many
tried.
poor reviews on it that it wasn't worth watching. So Sony kind of doing their thing hasn't always worked out for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of one of those where you kind of went, I don't know. Like, you kind of want to go see it just to see, hope that it's not bad, but coming off of Morbius and all that, like, it kind of seems like it's going to be that same kind of realm where you're just not really going, oh, yes. It's kind of like, oh, okay, all right, all right, whatever. Like, it just doesn't give me those vibes like other movies have. It just doesn't give me that. The other one that actually really gave me some pretty good vibes while watching it was the One Piece trailer.
Okay. What is that?
So that's a manga. It's based off of a manga series.
Okay, so that's like an anime, right?
Yeah,
All right.
but it's actual movie.
Okay.
So they made a movie from it.
Gotcha.
And it looks good. Like, it looks fun. Like, this is going to be one of those. Like, it's a very popular series. So this is going to be one of those that people are going to like flock to and hope that it's as good as what it's come from.
Okay.
So, like, just from the trailer, it looked pretty good. I was pretty excited about it. I was like, oh, this, and I just started getting into anime and all the manga stuff. So, like,
I'm told that once you
around
get into that world,
season 3 of Naruto, the first Naruto.
once you get into that world, I'm told that it's a rabbit hole that you don't get out. Like,
man,
my roommates are into it pretty hardcore. My kids watch Demon Slayer.
yeah, Demon Slayer.
My kids freaking love Demon Slayer. And like they're watching it in another language and reading the subtitles, and I'm like, there ain't been a TV show yet that I've been that interested in.
What? You never watched Narcos?
Never watched it.
Oh.
I will watch the shows when they dub them into English, and you can always see their voices. Like there's one on Netflix called Ragnarok, that I think it's made in obviously it's in that time frame of the Thor's hammers and all that stuff, but it's really good. But literally the whole thing is the dub thing where you can tell they filmed it in like Swedish and now they're all talking English.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'll watch those.
I couldn't do that. I can't do that whole Bruce Lee thing where it's like, what are you doing? I can't do that. You know, the other thing, of course, the other one that looks, there's not a trailer for it yet. It's just a few pictures. Was Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's going to be on Netflix next year.
That's right.
So they came out with some set
pictures.
pictures. It looked pretty good. Like
they can't do worse than the movie did as long as they come more off the cartoon.
I
Because
think
the cartoon was fire.
I think that they found out what they did last time. They're like, yeah, we can't do that again. We can't do that again.
And I think we've talked about this already, but I think we're going to keep seeing these TV, not necessarily TV, but like these HBO Maxes and all these companies doing these series breakdowns of things because they can get so. I think you see the success of Game of Thrones and all the content that you can get into an hour and 15 minutes of 10 episodes and realize that there's so much more money to be made if you make a cult following, essentially, versus just making great movies. 90s, 2000s, even the 2010s, movies were where it's at. Marvel movies, you need to keep doing movies. There's not enough content in a hero movie to go breaking it down in tens like that necessarily. But for books, if you're going to break a book down like that, you can hit on so many points, make your fans happy, make a quality product, and it's going to make you more money.
Yeah.
Because people are paying for these subscriptions.
And
watching all
speaking of that, this is actually one that I didn't have down, but because you said that, it reminded me. Best Served Cold is going to be a show on, I think, Amazon. And it's a book in the hold on, let me look at that real quick. I forgot the name of the series.
I don't know this one.
It's a Joe Abercrombie First Law.
Okay.
So the First Law series, this is actually one of the solo books in between. It's not actually part of the series. So it's so you got the First Law, which is 3 books, and then you have the First Law World, which is 4 books that he wrote, just not short stories, but stories of that happen in the world with some of the characters, but it's not part of the actual full series. And one of the books is Best Served Cold, and they decided to use that one as the first one that they were going to do for this world.
Okay.
A lot of people kind of questioned it because it's one of those books. It's like book 5 technically. So you got the 3 in the series, and then you have the first book, which is I lied. It's the first book. So book 4.
Okay, cool.
So it'd be Best Served Cold, then Heroes, Red Country, and then Shark End. But instead of doing the actual series first, they're doing this, and a lot of people are kind of questioning it and worried about it because you're going to be meeting people in this that you should already know because of the series.
So they're like starting in the middle
Kinda,
instead of just
yeah.
getting from the
So
beginning.
you're going to learn some of these people.
Especially with all the stuff you could do now. Like you should just tell the story. Like,
Yeah.
You can make it.
And the author has come out and said that don't worry, like we're going to do it the right way, and you're going to.
It's the best thing TV series can do, as much as it can be a struggle at times. If you can involve the creator of the series, you can get so much more because you can still spin things off of those by getting what their thought was. Like when you thought of this and you wrote this, what else were you thinking? Because you can then put all that in the background and really play into that visual effect of it.
And if you want to read a book series, that is a great one to start because it is dark, it is bloody, it is gory. There's a lot of cussing, and there is a lot of stuff in it, and you're going to love and really hate some characters. Like you're going to love Logan Nine Fingers, like everyone loves him. Black Dowell. There's a bunch of characters in there that you'll love. So if that's one of the series that you'd like to try, I would recommend that. And if you want to do audiobook, the narrator Stephen Pacey is top. He's the top guy.
Okay.
And so there's that. Now 2 more things that happened. I wouldn't say this week, but Well, actually, yeah.
I
guess
have
it
one
was.
that's a little old that I just thought about earlier on too. That you made me think of by saying series.
What's that?
I binged the Fast series.
Oh.
And we bought Fast 10 because it was cheaper to buy it than it was to rent it, and we watched
Really?
it here at the house. Yeah,
Wow.
it was like a $3 difference. So in the long run, it was cheaper to just buy it.
Yeah.
We watched 10. I'll say I've never not liked one because I'm just so invested. 9, we all know, stepped back a little over the cheesy. 10 was very good. Jason Momoa is phenomenal at all aspects of acting. That dude is amazing, and he steals the show.
It's funny
This
because
entire
Vin
movie.
Diesel said that he overacted.
Really? No.
He said that the movie was a failure because of his overacting.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard because, like, he was phenomenal. I think the failure of it was not the movie, it was the failure of 9. I think people were so
Probably.
worried about the lack of what 9 was that they didn't want to go see 10. And what he did as an actor made 10 that much better.
That's good.
The ending definitely left you where you know there's coming with another one.
They're not. That was the last one. They're going to be doing a spin-off series.
That would be the most devastating thing ever because
they're-
how it
they're not.
ended
It's
says there
done.
has to be another one.
No, they're done.
Well, you just broke my heart in a million ways because it did not end in a way that it could end like that.
Oh. Maybe there will be another one, but as
I know
far as
there-
I
there
know,
was
I
always-
heard that there's going to be a
There
spin-off now.
there were talks at one point that the last one was going to be 3 parts, and then
I remember that. Yeah.
now I think they've settled on there's only supposed to be, I don't know if it's official, but like I heard there was one more part and a date was set for 2025.
Okay.
And that it would
Okay,
be
well-
because like there's characters like a bunch of your like main people, the way they end, you're like that is not like you like that. We're just gonna do it like
Okay.
that.
That
That
may
would
be
kill.
there is because I haven't seen it. I
Yeah.
just heard that that's supposed to be the last one because they're supposed to be spinning off one second.
I wouldn't be shocked if we see
So,
spin-offs, but I would
maybe.
guarantee that there has to be one more for the final story.
The other one that's out or not out right now, but it's about to be out is Indiana Jones: Dial of Destiny.
Oh yeah, I've seen
Uh,
one of those ever.
Yeah, so this is getting some really bad reviews, not just by critics but by viewers also.
The last one was bad
So-
in my opinion. So
So this is Crystal Skull.
yeah, once you involve
Actually, to be honest, I went back and rewatched because I went it was last weekend, I think. I actually watched the entire from the first one all the way,
okay,
and I was
I
like,
hadn't even seen the beginning one.
this isn't terrible. Like it's not bad. It's just that you're throwing in aliens
Exactly.
compared to the
If you
rest of the
just-
series that wasn't.
Leave aliens out of it, and it might have been okay. I just hate when you just throw aliens in to throw aliens in. Like I just
Yeah, I mean you're trying. You're talking about this, but you got Fast and the Furious.
It's okay. We went to space, and they didn't go to space again this time. Everything was way more realistic. There are still things that are obviously going to happen in action movies that aren't realistic.
Yeah.
But in this
Okay.
one,
So
things are way more realistic.
How are you going to judge that movie for going
It's
to the
aliens.
alien thing?
It's-
and you absolutely love a series that is so unrealistic.
But I've also only watched
that-
one of them, and that's the only one I've seen. So maybe if
Okay.
I started from
you
the
need,
beginning,
you need to go back to watch
yeah,
the first
it's
one.
just so
because they're
aliens.
really good. They're really good. But this one, I'm hearing that is not good.
well, he's like
And so now it's kind of to the point where it might be close to on par with Crystal Skull, where people feel that. To me, when I like alien stuff, so
yeah.
that didn't bother me. I thought it was dumb, but at the same time, like Native American culture has a lot of tie-ins to
This is true.
kind of
There are
alien, not really alien stuff, but you can kind of
extraterrestrial
Yeah.
possibilities,
Yeah, like the sky
Mayan
people and everything.
ruins
Like-
and all that stuff.
like. So to me, it wasn't a stretch that it would be. Now, some stuff that they did was a stretch, but is a movie. But tying that in wasn't that big of a deal to me because I understand that Native American culture has that tie-in. So it wasn't that big of a stretch for me on that part.
Okay.
So that didn't really bother me. But, and as I watched the movie, I was like, man, it's actually kind of a okay movie. Then you got some parts that just, you rolled your eyes at. Like Shia LaBeouf. There was one point where he hit a tree and then all of a sudden he climbed up and there were...
Wait, he's in Crystal Skull, right?
Yeah.
Because he's his fake
Yeah.
son.
So he gets on those the swing and starts swinging. Like all of a sudden, he's just like this great acrobat. Starts swinging, then all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere and swings through the forest and hits the dude, knocks him out of the Jeep.
Yeah.
So there are some things in it that's just really stupid. But overall, I thought it was pretty good. But this one, I've not heard. I hadn't heard one good review yet, and that's troubling. And then the last thing is, I don't know if you've seen the trailer. It came out 2 weeks ago, I think. Twisted Metal.
The video game.
Yeah.
I have not seen the trailer, but I used to love the game.
So
I didn't know there was a movie coming out.
It's a TV show.
Okay.
It's only going to be on Peacock.
So I'm never gonna watch it anyway.
Yeah. So that's what I was like. Well, I guess I'm not going to watch it. But it's got Anthony Mackie,
Except for doing that.
Captain America.
Okay.
They do Captain America.
Yeah. That would be the only thing that.
Sweet Tooth is Will Arnett and Samoa Joe, the wrestler.
Okay.
So Samoa Joe is the body, and Will Arnett is the voice.
Okay.
So that's the way they're doing it with that. And of course, he's wearing his clown mask. But it's goofy. I forgot what song they sang, but they were singing Thong Song by Cisco.
Okay.
So they were singing that during the trailer and while they were fighting each other. Then they stopped fighting because they started singing.
Oh, goodness.
Like, it's funny. It looks like it's going to be funny, but
It's on Peacock.
It's going to be on Peacock, and then we know what the video game was when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like, it was just
funny.
so...
It was
just
crash,
explode,
and all that.
And based on the trailer, I have no clue what this is going to be.
Oh.
Like,
So they just
there was no vehicles in it. It was just them fighting in a bar.
Oh, that sounds really bad.
Yeah,
actually.
so I'm a little confused on what this is going to be, but we'll see. Like, that's basically all I have is we'll see. Well, some people will see. I won't, because it's going to be in Peacock.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, except for that 1 week trial where the NFL forces me to get it so that I can watch a playoff.
Oh, okay. Well,
'Cause you know that, right? The
Uh-huh.
NFL has agreed to terms with Peacock to do basically they're going to do a playoff game. We'll still roll into sports here, but they're doing a playoff game on Peacock. They're going to do one regular season game and one playoff game, and it's going to be. And here's the scary part about this is they're basically saying that this game could be the introduction test to see if the NFL tries to make the Super Bowl a pay-per-view.
I saw
Because
that.
if
I heard that.
they've realized that we as fans will get groups of people together, pay $150 for a pay-per-view, and they'll make tenfold fists of money over what they make now because they'll still be able to charge crazy numbers in ad revenue.
Yeah.
All the other ratings, they're not going to stop watching it. These sports bars are going to buy it. Everyone's going to watch the Super Bowl. And so this is essentially they're saying the test to see if the NFL goes and makes boxing's pay-per-view obsolete. Because you're going to buy an NFL pay-per-view before you buy a boxing one. And so I almost want to say we should start organizing the boycott now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to pay to watch Super Bowl.
Like, we already...
Or you're going to have to do a party, because who's going to pay full price by themselves?
I mean, there's already games on Amazon Prime.
Exactly.
And not everybody has Amazon Prime.
And it's true. A lot of
I don't
people
actually
do.
have Amazon Prime. My
Yeah.
roommate does. So I actually get to watch it because my roommate
My
has it.
mother-in-law has it, and so I'm able to get it that way.
So like,
yeah.
to me, you're already skating that line where you're forcing people to pay to watch a regular season game.
Absolutely.
Now you're kind of doing it with another network, with Peacock, and then you're going to try to do it with Super Bowl, and you're like, how much money do you need?
Exactly. You're the dominating force in all of entertainment right now, and you're looking at, I mean, you're probably looking at this not being a thing for the next probably 3 to 4 years before we really get there, which maybe that's actually closer when you say it out loud than it sounds. But, I mean, they're going to trial run it. They've already said one playoff game for sure. And now they did it right. They made it where you can do that first month, where Peacock's one of those networks that is if you never subscribe, you can get 1 month free. So that first month is the one game they're doing in the regular season and the one playoff game. So you can do it and then cancel it. So they're really going to do it just to see what kind of viewership they get. How many people are willing to take the extra mile to commit? And it's going to 100% come down to who ends up in that playoff game. Because if that playoff game ends up having the Kansas City Chiefs, well, then you're going to watch it because it's a Super Bowl possible caliber here.
Yeah.
If that playoff game ends up being insert 7-seed wild card and
the Las Vegas Raiders.
Exactly, low-end division champ. I can't guarantee you get buy-in. So if I'm the network, I'm putting an enticing game on it, which sucks. But that's what you do.
Yeah.
You get a Miami Dolphins. You get a team who's got a bunch of superstars on their roster now that people are going to pay to watch.
I agree with that. Yeah.
With that said, the Miami Dolphins escaped a big one as Tyreek Hill is not going to face charges as he was not arrested but indicted or looked up and had a warrant out for a temporary moment for some charges at a beach in Miami.
And it really was kind of dumb because the boater, whatever you want to call him, he had already come out and said that he wasn't pressing charges. Like I don't even understand how like what happened, how it came about. If this guy wasn't even trying to do anything, like it's almost like someone else was like, oh, I saw him hit him, so hey, like y'all need to investigate this or something.
Exactly, and I bet that's exactly what it was because let's be honest, if it wasn't anything major and it was just two dudes that had to fight and Tyreek Hill really threw a punch, if that dude's a Dolphins fan, he's not pressing charges.
Yeah, and he
like,
hit him in the back of the head.
Yeah,
it was like, hey, you're a dumbass.
Yeah, like he's not gonna press charges. Yeah, and some schmuck on the other side is gonna overreact. That's what the world does now.
Yep.
And so, no, we're not gonna see. He's gonna be off the hook. Everything's gonna be fine there. A Pat's corner also had a gun
Hold
charge.
on.
Uh-oh.
But Drew Rosenhaus, did you see that?
I didn't see
where he was swimming with the shark and even grabbed the shark.
Oh,
they told him, don't grab it. And he just went over there and grabbed it and pulled it up to him.
Oh my!
It was a little nerve shark. I mean, it wasn't even
a shark, bro.
Yeah, it is, but they're a little bit more docile.
Okay.
Like they're not as aggressive. So that's why he went ahead and grabbed it. But I mean, you have an agent going out there and grabbing a fucking shark and just like as someone that's
like
who your agent is, you're like, that's my agent right there.
You're right though. Like I'm more enticed to sign with Rosenhaus because he's willing to tackle sharks. So, I mean, there's not a ton NFL related, but the news and him we rolled into from the Peacock stuff. So I mean, there's still no word on DeAndre Hopkins yet.
The cornerback you're talking about.
Oh yeah, the Patriots cornerback Jones.
Oh, Jack Jones.
Yeah. He was arrested. Pleads not guilty to a gun charge.
Did you see that?
No,
Did you
I
see
didn't.
the tweet?
I hadn't seen the tweet.
This was one of those that we should have waited till the very end to talk about.
Oh no!
Because it rolls into John Morant.
Well, we can always roll
because
into John Morant.
He called out John Morant for the gun issues and saying, you need to like get your money right and pay somebody to carry a gun or something. Like you shouldn't be carrying those guns because you're part of the league and all this, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then he gets arrested for trying to carry 2 pistols in the airport.
Well, Jack Jones ain't John Morant, but
I mean he's not. He's definitely not.
That's
And then so from what I've heard on DeAndre Hopkins, man, it's kind of sounding like him and Dalvin Cook are maybe trying to sign at the same place.
I hadn't seen that. That'd be interesting.
So it's something that they have apparently talked about, and Dalvin Cook even came out and said, "Wouldn't that be pretty cool?" I was like, "Oh my God, they're talking about it. They're trying to form up with somebody."
Who's the team that they could join? Because at the end of the day, they're both still productive players. If they're healthy, they can help you win. So what would be the team that gets the two of them and goes from fringe playoff team to playoff lock, I guess you would say?
So
they're not going to go to the Cardinals. Because that'd be one of the teams you could think Dalvin Cook could go play on, I guess.
Well, I mean, D-Hop wouldn't go back to the team.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's not going to go there because they just cut him.
Man, I would say Baltimore. Baltimore's one of those teams, like they can use another receiver.
They use a receiver, but I don't think
Dobbins is their running back.
I was going to say Dobbins is better than Dalvin Cook, I think, right now. Dobbins is an efficient running back. I'm sorry.
No, he's not. We went over this like 3
His
weeks
yards
ago.
per carry.
We went over this like
so
3 or 4
good.
weeks ago because he had really good games against terrible teams.
His
we went over this already.
That's fine.
Get off that train.
I'm just gonna stay with it. I still think he is he's a better option, especially in a contract year where he's trying to play for some kind of second deal. I would take that motivation over a Dalvin Cook in 20.
Miami is another team that you could look at. They brought in Devin Achane. They re-signed Jeff Wilson, Myles Gaskin, and every other.
Raheem Mostert
and Mostert.
I would say that
so
if you bring Dalvin Cook in,
down.
I hope A-Train I still think gets his touches because everything out of Miami is he's looked fantastic and he's electric speed. I think it cuts Jeff Wilson and either Gaskin, Wilson, or Mostert. 2 of those 3 go. I would think that because you pay Wilson the most, he gets the spot to stay. He's the youngest of them. So
I got the team. Oh no, I don't. Never mind.
No, I was gonna say, I was waiting. But it
I was
doesn't.
gonna say the Vikings. And then I was like,
No,
the
that would
Vikings
be a
just cut
team that
down
just
the-
cut down. Well, no, that's not true though, because a lot of people on the Vikings have lobbied to find a way to get Cook back. The cut was because of money.
Yeah.
So technically, if he's willing to take less, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Kirk Cousins, my goodness, that team could be pretty freaking scary because you can't double Jefferson every single possession if you have Hopkins on the other side and Addison underneath.
Right. Yeah. Another team.
Goodness.
Another team is the Saints with Alvin Kamara's issues going on right now. They really don't have another running back.
They don't, and
So
you
you
can't
can do that with
truly
Cook.
trust Michael Thomas. If Michael Thomas is healthy and playing, he could be a great slot. So you could put Hopkins on the outside with Olave, and that would be pretty scary.
And they drafted Kendre Miller.
True,
From TCU.
they did take the TCU back
So-
there.
The next team would be the Cowboys, just because, I mean, Cook and Pollard would be a good 1-2 punch.
You get a little more power if you go with Cook.
And
so that would
then
help.
you add another receiver, which, be honest, at this point, I don't think they need another receiver. So I would say no to that one.
I think Dak's a guy that likes to get reps with his guys to get more chemistry, and I don't think he'd have enough time to get the chemistry with
Yeah,
Hopkins at
yeah.
this point.
And honestly, that looks about it.
So
Maybe Kansas City.
I think the leader in the
That's
clubhouse
about the
might be
last
the
one.
Saints right now. I think the Saints would be the leader in the clubhouse. Because like you said, you don't know what you're going to have with Kamara. The legal situation's up in the air. You do have a rookie running back, but after that, it's kind of...
Yeah.
Well, you got Jamal Williams. You did sign...
Oh, yeah.
You signed Jamal Williams.
Yeah.
But honestly, Jamal Williams is kind of a guy. Like, he's
Yeah.
a great dude in the locker room. He reminds me a lot of, like, the Mark Ingram coming back to the
Yes.
Saints. Kind of the power...
Yeah.
Not a home run, not special. He'll still snag a couple catches.
Yeah, and like I said, Chiefs could be one of those teams also.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, Pacheco is their running back now because he's pretty much submitted himself over.
Absolutely, and he played very good in the playoffs to throw it.
Dude, I forgot his name.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clyde. So he's
Speaking
pretty
of
much
LSU,
submitted
we
himself as
are
our
currently
running
up 5-2 in the College World Series elimination or double elimination round.
Okay, and so yeah, that's about it on them. The other thing I've heard is that Bryce and Stroud have both like really impressed everybody at camp.
You're not going to hear him come out and say they haven't.
Right. I mean, yeah, like they've already said Will Levis has not exactly impressed.
That's true.
So, like, if they felt like they haven't impressed, I don't think that they would come out and say it. I think they would just stay mum on it.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
I've heard a lot of these two are impressing everybody.
Well, that's good.
So,
that'll be good to see him. Hopefully they can
that-
be successful.
Jordan Love, did you see that?
No.
Where he did the Father's Day thing?
What did he do?
Yeah, he was trying to make it to where he was their daddy. And the way that he said it to where the Bears were his daddy.
Oh, So if the Bears win the first game against the Packers.
Yeah,
I told you
they
Father's
looked
Day,
at
he
it.
was
Like,
gonna
I don't
have-
even know why you would say that in the first place because you've never played the Bears.
He
as far as
has
I
to
know.
express that he can be what Rodgers was.
Yeah,
He's
and he's not. He's
ever
not.
gonna be. So
Let's see. Two more things actually just came out today. The Lions' new alternate helmet.
Yeah, I saw that. Pretty cool. I thought it was all right. I mean, it's kind of slick.
I love the blue. Love the
I
blue.
always love their blue.
That logo
blue in
is
there is
so
silver.
stupid. That logo is so stupid. Like the moment I seen it was that logo on it, I was like, nope.
Kind of looks like
I'm
the old
done.
Food Lion logo.
Yeah, it does. Like this,
Y'all don't
it's
even know
the
about the
two
Food
lines
Lion
that just
anymore.
like I'm like, why not just put your cool logo on it? The blue is awesome, and you ruined it with that stupid logo.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then the last one is Antonio Brown's team got booted from the Arena League because he wasn't paying them, and they just decided, you know what, the only way to get rid of him, just boot that team out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they're doing with those players. I don't know if those players kind of got sucked up on other teams or something, but it kind of sucks because if not, there's a whole bunch of players that just lost their jobs.
because Antonio Brown has no mental awareness of what's going on in his life right now. So, if that's what you have from football, I have from one football to another football.
Okay, let's do it.
I want to slide into international football. Team USA. Just a couple of days ago, Team USA wins the CONCACAF Nationals. That means they beat Canada and Mexico, essentially, and they're about to start the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup's not really a big deal. You'll see a lot of the secondary USA players there, but in the CONCACAF, you're going to see your stars. And we talked about how we've seen how they did at the World Cup. The U.S., if you don't understand, for being U.S. soccer, did very good at the World Cup. U.S. is currently ranked 13th in the world in soccer, which, I'm going to be honest, the World Cup's in 3 years, and it's in our backyard. And when I'm going to just listen to some of these names and some of these teams and ages and realize that we're about to hit what could be that golden years of American soccer, where when we play in our backyard, we might not just be a team, we might be a favorite.
Oh, okay.
Like, we're that level of U.S. soccer is going to be. Our goalie, Matt Turner, plays for Arsenal, one of the top leagues in the world. That's England. He's only 28. Sergio Dest, one of our best defenders, he plays for Barcelona. You've probably heard of him, even if you're not a soccer fan. Chris Richards, 23 years old, Crystal Palace, England. Antone Robertson, 25 years old, Fulham. Let's see here. Walker Zimmerman, he's 30, so he's probably going to be on the back end of his career years by the time we get to the Cup. But then you get to guys like, let's see here, Weston McKennie, 24 years old, balled out for you at the World Cup. Gio Reyna, 20 years old, plays for Dortmund in Germany. He's 20 years old and he's playing on Germany's Dortmund, one of the top leagues in German soccer. Brendan Aronson plays for Leeds United. Florian Balogun is the guy who just got his American citizenship to come to Team USA. He's 21 years old. He didn't want to play in England. He came to play for America. That's what we're building here. 21 years old. His first 2 matches for Team USA were the CONCACAF, and he threw a goal in the back of the net against Canada to help get the win. Kid's a stud. You have Ricardo Pepe, only 20 years old, playing for Augsburg in Germany. You have Timothy Way, who didn't even play in these events because he was in concussion protocol, only 23. You're missing from this event was Tyler Adams, your Team USA captain at the World Cup. He's only 24 years old. And the guy that played captain, no big deal. He's just Christian Pulisic. He's literally seen as one of the best players in the world right now. He's on Chelsea. He's a free agent next year, and they're talking big bucks to go play for AC Milan right now. Like, another massive program. So, be ready to understand that every 4 years, America gets really big on soccer. And maybe I got a little big earlier because of how good the Cup was, because my kids are both playing soccer, and it kind of bought me in more. But I sat back and I started looking at the age of this World Cup team, that what USA is bringing and what they're building, and how these international players are wanting to come play in the program. They found their new coach. They actually brought the coach that they fired back. They got rid of Greg Berhalter after the World Cup because him and Gio Reyna had a beef. It looks like they were able to set that beefing aside, because the beef wasn't really between the player. It was between Gio Reyna's dad, because these guys are so young, their dads are still involved, and Greg Berhalter, who had some issues in their past that all came to light. They said, no, Berhalter's our guy, and I'm glad they did, because I think Berhalter is the guy that's going to take them to that level. Like, he has the ears of this locker room. The players like to play for him. And so, if you aren't a huge soccer fan, the main thing is because there's so many leagues. It's hard to keep up with all the leagues. We've talked about this before. There's so many countries playing soccer at a high level. There's so many teams. I mean, hell, there's 5 divisions in England where you can relegate. We've talked about that. But sit down and watch Team USA play. We just beat Mexico, our biggest rival, 3-0. And fun fact, Mexico hasn't beat us in like 6 years.
Really?
And Mexico is supposed to be our rival, and for years dominated us.
Wow.
Mexico's getting in so much trouble for how their fans are acting that they're about to lose the ability to have team games in Mexico because of how poor the Mexican fan base is acting. Nothing against American Mexicans, just Mexico soccer gets pretty violent.
Yeah.
And the other thing that it brought me into is, brings me into is that they were talking about, they were speaking with Gareth Bale, another guy who's a huge star overseas. He's on the back end of his career now, but he was a guy that came and played in America for a little while. And they asked him, how will Messi like America? And the answer he gave was the one big difference in American soccer versus over here is that they accept losing better, and when they win, it's a bigger deal. And fans at first took that as a bad thing, but then you find out that one of America's young stars, who he wasn't on the CONCACAF roster, but his name is Mushu, like yes, literally like the dragon from Mulan. He's 20 years old. He's a defender, midfield guy, plays on both sides. Was very good at the World Cup as a reserve player. He will be a part of your World Cup rotation in the future. Young star playing overseas, playing for Leeds United in England or over in that area. They lost the game, a match over there. It was Valencia in Spain. And it was the fans got so crazy that players were fearing for their lives to leave the fields. Because that's how different they approach football overseas in certain countries when they play in certain areas of some of the rougher neighborhoods in these other countries. We forget they have bad neighborhoods there too. Like we just see all the pretty cities. We don't think about the other side.
Oh yeah.
And so Gareth Bale was saying that the thing that Messi will love the most is that we might see a better version of Messi because he doesn't have to stress about the negativity of a fan base. Especially because he's coming on to what is the worst team in the MLS right now. And they're already talking about all of his buddies from Argentina that are free agents. There's like 3 big name dudes that I can't say their names, are all linked to coming to Inter Milan now.
Oh
Inter
my
Miami.
goodness.
So Inter Miami might just be the retirement home for the Argentinian World Cup team. So you might.
Hey.
They're not coming to Dallas, but when they come next year, it's going to be a ticket that I might look at.
That's
So
it sounds like it'd be pretty fun. Staying on this because I wanted to talk about the Women's World Cup,
which is coming
which is happening. Actually, I just looked at it to make sure. USA women are playing Vietnam today.
Oh, so it's going. It's officially going. Okay.
And
well, they're gonna win.
What I'm going through the list, and I don't know a lot of most of them on there. I knew 2, and it looks like one of them is on there. So Megan Rapinoe, she's not on the team this year, I guess.
Yeah, she's well past her prime.
But my girl Alex Morgan is still playing,
and she's still a stud. Well, I mean,
girl.
Rapinoe didn't play till she was like 39 or 40.
Is that how old she was?
She's old, yeah.
Oh, God, I didn't realize that.
Rapinoe
Well, Alex Morgan's 33. She's still young and beautiful and just.
Isn't one of the there's a Zach Ertz isn't Julie Ertz still on the team? Zach
Julie
Ertz's wife.
Julie Ertz.
Julie Ertz should be on the team. Zach Ertz's wife. You talk about power couple. One's got multiple Gold Gloves and one's played for Super Bowls.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look up some of these because honestly, I don't know enough about that side. I just know Alex Morgan and Megan Rapinoe just because Megan Rapinoe was all over the place.
Yeah, she was.
But Alex Morgan is the one that I've known for years.
Vietnam, the Netherlands, and Portugal. They should smoke Vietnam. The challenge will come from the Netherlands and Portugal if their women's sides are any good as comparison to their men's sides. But I'm trying to find their roster.
Oh,
because see if there's any names I recognize.
What?
I pay attention a little bit. So,
Why does this say Friday, July 21st?
Because
July 21st. It starts July 21st, not June 21st.
July 21st. Okay, they're not playing right now.
Because I was like, it's the 21st, so it's starting.
It tells you how little that as good as the women's soccer team has been, it tells you how little they care about it. Oh, Trinity Rodman, Dennis Rodman's daughter's on the team.
Oh, was that who that is?
Yeah, Trinity Rodman is Dennis Rodman's daughter. She's on the team. They have the height and weight and age of the players, and they only have like 4 of the weights of the girls. Like they don't. ESPN doesn't have any stats on most of the women.
Even though they've won more.
They've won like 3 World Cups of the last 4 or something insane. Like they're always very good, and they're finally getting that. They had that whole ordeal with the equal pay and all that, and that's been taken care of. And I will say, as far as the U.S. side of things go, they did them right. They should have balanced out the pay on the national level for both sides. I understand why the NBA gets paid more than WNBA. Totally makes sense. But when we're talking about, I guess the TV ratings play into it some, but when we're talking about when you're representing your country as an Olympian, as insert whatever, when a committee pays you from the government, it should be aligned. I don't care if you're Christian Pulisic or you're the 3rd guy on the bench. You should all get, thank you for playing for America, here's your pay. The payment is I'm representing my country.
Yeah.
Messi gave blood, sweat, and tears to play for Argentina. Ronaldo, blood, sweat, and tears to play for the Portuguese. Like there's a pride in that, representing your country, representing your home in that kind of atmosphere.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. So.
But from that football, I guess since we just talked about Dennis Rodman's daughter, we will go to the world of basketball, where tomorrow we start to see some big change. We've already seen some changes as we saw a 3-team deal today. The Celtics pick up Kristaps Porzingis and are already talking about an extension as he had a player option, so they want to make sure he knows we want him. So they're going to give him.
Okay.
They'll get the. So I think it's a 2-year, $77 million max extension they can give him. He'll likely get that so he doesn't opt out after the trade.
Okay.
But Porzingis played very well last year, so putting him into the rotation with Tatum and Jaylen Brown,
gives him a lot.
it could be a big thing. It helps space the floor more.
Over.
Very true, as long as he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
They did give up a good player though. Malcolm Brogdon is a solid role player, a very good ball handler, and going to the Clippers, I think he could flourish there. Because the problem with the Clippers is you have Paul George, you have Kawhi Leonard, but they're never on the damn floor. Like, these are great players that can't play. Brogdon is a stable player who can be on the floor. He's now played high leverage minutes, and he knows how to play off the ball, on the ball. I think he will be a guy that can really help the Clippers kind of stabilize and be that team do better going forward.
Okay.
And then the other guys were just swing guys back towards the Wizards. The Wizards are in full tank mode because, as we saw, they gave up Bradley Beal for nothing. I mean, you didn't even get.
And
you could have even.
Cruz opted out.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're gonna flip Chris Paul because that was the centerpiece of the deal. You're gonna flip him or cut him, but like, not even a first round pick or.
It was a swap of picks.
Yeah.
So they swapped first round picks.
Yeah, but they didn't get.
But they didn't get it.
You're talking. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Bradley Beal has flaws, but he's a great scorer. He's. I guess you could almost call him a poor man, Devin Booker. Like, Booker's probably a better ball handler. I feel like. But like, not even a one, or even honestly, like you could have called him and said, "We'll start with DeAndre Ayton." I think the Suns would have done it, and he didn't get in. Now the Suns keep DeAndre Ayton, who's now doesn't have to be vital to their offense. He just has to be a rebounder who gets 12 points a night, and well, hell, he can be great at that. So really, there's no pressure for DeAndre Ayton to be good. There's no pressure for him to go. So now, the only question is going to be,
in the playoffs, there might be pressure on him to actually get a rebound.
That's also true. The real question is going to be though, like who leads the ball handling process, who gets the offense flowing, because you
I would
don't
assume
have.
It's going to be Booker.
And that's what I would think. One mock I showed, I saw actually put Beal at the point because he's had to ball handle so much for Washington that he's comfortable with the ball in his hands now.
I mean, it makes sense.
But it is there's a lot of ISO ball going on there. Like, they're not going to be fun to watch play basketball. Like, the Warriors were fun because the ball was always moving. They're going to be a boom. My turn. I get to beat this defender. It's going to be like, that won't be a fun basketball to watch.
It's going to be very reminiscent of LeBron, Bosh, and D Wade in Miami the first year.
And it's a lot of
before they
also
learn
I can see that. But it's also going to be they can all shoot threes, but none of them create a three, and so you're gonna see a heavy level of mid range. Like, we're gonna see. It's gonna be very old school '90s basketball.
Okay.
Like a lot of mid ranges, a lot of fades. Like, that's their game. You're gonna see them ISO Durant on one side, ISO Beal. Like, we'll probably see a crap ton of high block ISO 2 dribble fadeaway jumpers, and they're all gonna hit them because they're really good at those. But it will not be a fun brand of basketball to watch. But when they're on, that's 75 points. That's 3 guys right there that guarantee you 75. Because that's saying they all average only 25 a night, and we know Durant can have 31 himself. So that could be interesting.
On this topic of that trade.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if this trade was what was going on with the rumors that the Clippers were gauging trades for Paul George, because they wasn't exactly trying to trade him, but they were gauging to see what they could get.
Yeah, especially because
so
they know
I don't know if
get
this trade was part of that, since they were involved in this. So I don't know if it was actually part of the talks to see what they could get back in return, and then they decided, no, this is what we're going to do. So I don't know if that was what happened, but there was rumors that that was something that was going on. There's also rumors that now that Dame is 100% staying in Portland,
he said he continuously says he wants to be at Blazer.
They might trade for Adebayo. might try to trade for him.
I don't see how if you're Miami you give up.
I don't think you would either.
I don't
but
think you would.
It sounds like
But
he's one
have-
of them that they want.
It has like the draft is tomorrow, and
Mhm.
the popular thing like here's the thing of 4 teams you might see or 5 teams you might see trade their first round pick, and the number 1 team on almost everyone is Portland, because we expect we know Wemby's going 1.
Mhm.
Most people are saying Brandon Miller out of Alabama is going number 2.
Funny story about him.
Okay, Scoot Henderson. A lot of people have him as their number 2 prospect. It's just that they think that Miller fits next to LaMelo better. So that's what's going to drop Scoot. If Scoot Henderson, who most people say could be your number 1 pick if Wemby was never born, is your 3rd pick, like the value of that pick is huge. I've heard, I don't think it's going to happen, and it hasn't really been shut down, but I've heard as high as the New Orleans Pelicans trading Zion to go after him. I don't know that happens. If you're Portland, do you risk getting Zion? Because as great as he is, we know what he is on a basketball court. Do you give up a sure player? But you at the same time, you want to cater to what Lillard wants. And Lillard wants to get a win now player.
You trade for a guy that's going to end up being Greg Oden 2.0.
And that's the scary thing. Like, you're looking at a guy that's
let
getting
me
hurt.
speak up for that again, because I did say it pretty low.
Oh, yeah.
You're trading for a guy that's going to be Greg Oden 2.0.
Greg Oden, Brandon Roy, like there's
Yeah.
a list of great Blazers that couldn't keep their knees together. And knees, feet, ankles, whatever it is, Zion, lower body, back. And so
Strippers.
Yeah, strippers. I mean, but you can have a stripper coming out saying she's gonna leak her sex tape if they don't trade him. So it's getting really sticky.
Well,
in
and then
New
Twitter
Orleans.
banned her.
That's true.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
she'll
as soon
find
as
a
she
way.
did it, yeah. Yeah, go to Instagram. Don't let you do it.
Instagram, TikTok, one of them won't let you do
The
it.
funny story about Brandon Miller, LeBron is not his GOAT.
Yeah, his GOAT topic was interesting.
Did you hear it?
I saw the list, but you can refresh me because I won't say it right off top.
It's not Michael Jordan either.
Mm-mm.
It's not Magic Johnson.
Kobe
It's not
Bryant.
Kareem. It's not Kobe. It's not any of the greatest players that you would think
Anyone
of.
that you've
Larry
ever debated.
Bird. Larry Bird. No, not Larry Bird.
Guys that you might have had a leg to stand on.
Charles Barkley? No, not Charles Barkley. His GOAT is Paul George.
You know what Paul George's best thing he did in his career was? Get the Thunder a fleecing of draft picks from the Clippers for the next 20 years.
That is going to be like the pinnacle of what he's going to be remembered for. Kind of like
That
Herschel
and the
Walker.
god-awful
Herschel Walker
injury
is
that he
always going to
took.
be remembered for the trade to Minnesota, where the Cowboys ended up getting a slew of picks,
Uh-huh.
and Emmett Smith.
It
Troy
doesn't
Aikman,
matter
and
how
Michael
good
Irvin.
you were, what they were able to get because of giving you up. And that's why sometimes people think it's crazy, but it's worth saying, I'm going to trade X generational talent. Because if you can get that kind of return, if you can hit, it can change everything
Yeah.
because you hit. So sometimes it sounds crazy, but that's why teams will say, we're not good enough to win a championship, but we're good enough to compete. Forget it. Let's trade him and suck and fix it all. So no, it'll be interesting though. There's a few other rumors going on. The Lakers are interested in a couple of guys on the Pacers, Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, but we've heard those names to be traded for 3 years now.
Yeah.
But
That and the Lakers are interested in LeBron is interested in everybody.
well, apparently
Speaking of
LeBron and AD got an argument, and so I know that.
Did you see the video of LeBron at the Paris fashion show?
No.
Wearing
I
his
know he's in France he was with Draymond Green actually.
Yeah, he's at the Paris fashion show. And this is something I've never seen from LeBron. But apparently he's got a grill.
Oh no.
He's almost 40 years old. And I've never once seen him with a grill. And he shows up and he's got this bottom grill. And he's like, trying to show it and you're just going, bro, that ain't you. That ain't you. That's John Morant carrying a gun because he's a gangster.
You gotta do the whole fashion trend. He's probably doing it to fit
Dude,
into
the grills were early 2000s.
No, they're all wearing them now. There's guys playing. I mean, Justin Jefferson tries to play in his.
Well, that's a mouthpiece. He has a mouthpiece that's a grill.
True, but he also has a
Yeah.
actual set of like diamond
Yeah,
encrusted
but
teeth
He
over it.
has that.
Yeah.
LeBron doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So now you're just going, oh, look at this poser. Just trying to be cool. Why? Just be you. Just be you. Quit trying to be somebody else. Speaking of all that, and I brought up John Morant, 25 games. What do you think about that?
It's enough to keep him from making max money, getting on any first team All NBA. They picked a number that said you can't get any of their extra rewards. They played for this money. The biggest punishment is the money he lost. It doesn't kill their contending stances because if they can be 500 without him, he could step in and help get them back as a playoff team early in the season. But I think that I don't know that what he's done outside of act foolish and bad example for kids is bad enough to mark anything more than that.
Okay.
He hasn't. I mean, we've seen players beat people and get less. So he didn't.
But that was at a different time.
Oh, it's also true, but he didn't commit a true crime necessarily. He just set a bad example for kids.
Yeah.
Now the only part was funny is he came up with the video with it. Look,
it was a lighter.
It's a lighter. Like that wasn't necessary. Just stop while you're ahead.
I'm sure that one they were like, dude, stop.
They shook their head. But the other one that the Mavs are rumored to be trading the 10th pick.
Yeah.
I've heard that they're in talks.
That's not even a rumor.
Yeah.
Let's just put that.
I heard they're in
aggressive. Fact.
They're in aggressive talks with the Hawks. That the Hawks want to give up John Collins. The Mavs want Clint Capella. I'd rather John Collins if I'm a Mavs fan. He's a more efficient scorer. He still can play good defense. Clint Capella, my buddy made a good point.
They wanted Capella for years.
They wanted Capella because he gives them that Tyson Chandler. He ain't Tyson Chandler though. Like he's not. He's a skinny. He's long. He can play good defense, but he's not what Tyson Chandler brought to that Mavericks locker room back then.
Yeah.
I would want the better basketball player, and I think John Collins is a better basketball player because at this point right now, your roster says we don't play defense and Luka and Kyrie have to do everything. John Collins gives you a third option that can get a bucket. He can still play defense. He can help get rebounds so that Luka doesn't have to get all the damn rebounds too.
Yeah.
So if they're really saying take John Collins and the 15th pick for 10, fuck yeah, I'm doing it. Like, where do we sign? So, I mean, obviously other players have to go to make the money right.
Yeah.
Even seen whispers of a deal that involves sending Tim Hardaway Jr. to someone, so that's just a contract they probably want to get off their books.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure they do.
So they're a team that you might see, but it's.
You mentioned it earlier, Drake. He's one of them that declined his deal. Obviously,
he won't get the same per year value, but he'll get a longer deal.
All it was just to get a longer deal. Like there's no one that I've seen that even expects him to go anywhere else. It's just to get a longer deal.
The Warriors really want him back. I've heard some other teams would like to have him.
Of course, a lot of people would love to have him because of what he brings.
Oh, for sure, he brings an intensity. And speaking of him, he falls into something fun. I have a little fun game for you here.
Okay.
I
was wondering what those.
But hopefully you didn't read them all too well.
I read them all, but I was just.
We're gonna give you some of them. Tell me. We're gonna have we'll do is switch it up my game.
Before we do that, okay. Montrezl Harris.
Montrezl Harrell, yes.
Harrell, sorry. He
former Sixth Man of the Year.
His also
just didn't get any option to play.
You got Kuzma, Drake, and Montrezl that have all recently declined. So there's some pretty good players that are going to be available.
Yeah, it's not a deep class, but it is a solid role player class. But going into the draft, most people look at the NBA and like we just saw earlier this year, we saw someone traded for what's his name, former Maverick, that they gave up the 5 second-round picks for, and we laughed about it. Jay Crowder gave up 5 second-round picks to get Jay Crowder. Then Jay Crowder hardly ever played for them. But we talk about this because I wanted to bring up the point that people act like the second round of the NBA draft is just this not happening thing. And with the skill of current NBA players and how good these kids are, I want to point out that don't give up on the draft in the second round. I'm not even going to go all the way back, but I'm going to go to 99 because this is definitely the biggest name you're going to hear off these guys, or one of them. But in 99, second round pick, Manu Ginobili, pick 57. So, clearly value.
Yeah.
Michael Redd was taken in 2000. Gilbert Arenas, 2001. Boozer, who both his boys are going to be drafted in a couple years because they're both studs. Mo Williams, Kyle Korver, Trevor Ariza, big one right here that's just retired. Lou Williams. The Hawks are retiring his number as a second-round pick because of how valuable he was their franchise. Lou Williams was ridiculously good off the bench, multiple times 6th Man of the Year. PJ Tucker is still putting in work he doesn't score, but he is the grittiest defender you're going to get, putting in work, picked in the second round. Millsap was a solid player. Marc Gasol, multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards, second round pick. DeAndre Jordan just got his first title. Didn't play many minutes, but he was there. He was in it. Goran Dragic is a guy that every time he gets released, people want him. They don't play him, but they all want him. Never really understood it. Patrick Beverley, annoying. I hate the guy. Quality career. You would be happy if you got him in the second round. A few other ones, Hassan Whiteside, Jay Crowder, all in the same draft. Jay Crowder, Draymond Green, and Chris Middleton. All three went in the 2012 in the second round. And they went within like 6 picks of each other. Then you go into the 2014 draft, and these two guys were taken within 2 picks of each other. Jeremy Grant, who's been an efficient scorer throughout his career in the later part of it. And, 2-time league MVP, just won the NBA championship. One of the best centers of all time. Nikola Jokic, second-round pick, and a Taco Bell commercial was on. Montrezl Harrell, who you just talked about, second-round pick. Malcolm Brogdon, who just got traded. He was the Rookie of the Year as a second-round pick. Dylan Brooks, He's a free agent. He's a tool. He's going to end up on a team because he is still a good defender. Like, you don't like his attitude, the fake tough guy and all that. Hopefully he fixes that wherever he goes to because he is a quality defender. He can bring something to the team. And then another, most notably, guy that comes off to mind, Jalen Brunson.
And that was a really good pick for the Mavericks.
33rd overall pick. The thing that I always notice in the NBA draft, it seems like, is that the second round has teams go one of two ways. They either take 17-year-old kid in Europe who might not be in the league for 3 or 4 years, but they own his rights, or Jalen Brunson, a 4-year starter, competitive all through 4 years in college, played high-level minutes there, and they see a guy like that. Draymond Green was the same kind of guy. Draymond Green was a huge part of Michigan State's success while he was there.
Yeah, first round, there's a lot of just like projections in first round. They're like,
first round
this guy could be something.
We think and that's what you get out of a lot of those guys. You see him, he did this overseas, he could be this guy. We know this guy was really good. It's all forecasting and drafting, but don't give up. The second round of the NBA draft will have players that could potentially be a quality role player. We just watched Miami make the finals with a plethora of undrafted free agents and role players. Yeah. And one of those guys that could go in the second round, and he is a wild card guy. And he was, if you'd have looked at him a year and a half ago, you'd have said he was a lock to go number 1. That's Amani Bates. Amani Bates was the number 1 recruit out of the high school. He goes to Memphis to play for Penny Hardaway, who just got suspended for illegal NCAA sanctioning.
Yep. For
and
3 weeks?
He struggled
3 months?
First 3 weeks or 3 games. It wasn't a crazy long, but it was still enough to it's worked. He didn't play the best at Memphis. The situation wasn't well. There were off-the-court drama going on. He goes to Eastern Michigan, to a smaller school this year, and he bounces back in a good way. He scored 20 a game. He had solid numbers. A lot of people went off of his poor time at Louisville, at Memphis, are knocking on him. They think there's a lot of holes in his game and stuff. He could be a guy that goes in a late second round, and if your team gets him, there could be some untapped potential that the right coaching staff could really bring. If Amani Bates goes to Duke, or Michigan State, or any of those schools out of high school, I guarantee you we wouldn't have been talking about him right now because he'd already be in the league. Like, I think the right coaching is what he's missing, and I don't think Penny Hardaway is the right coaching. Like, we know Penny Hardaway because he's a great basketball player.
Yeah.
I don't look at Penny Hardaway and go, I want him to make my kid great.
Yeah.
So
it's, there are some people that just aren't good at coaching.
Well, and he's
You can be a great player, but you may not be that good of a coach. You're a good coach, but you may not be that good.
I think he's a good X's and O's coach. Like, he understands the game like a point guard. He does that, but I don't think he's a good
motivator coach.
Take them to the next level. Okay. Like, when you're in college and you're playing that, if you're going to play that 1 year, I want to play for the coach that can take my career and unlock that next gear. Amani Bates, if you're the number 1 recruit in high school, any of them, you're going to college with the thought that I'm going to be here for 1 year, so I want to maximize my growth in that 1 year. Yeah. And so that's why you see people going to he's not there anymore, obviously, but a Coach K, a Calipari, like a Bates going to Kentucky would have made him a lock to go in the lottery, because Calipari does something to these kids who can bring the next out of them, even
he
if they're
did it
not.
with NBA players whenever he took them to Olympics.
He's the one who. Calipari is the reason the one and done is so successful, because he's been able to prove to these teams that no, you can bring in a superstar, be a stud with 4 freshmen and win a title.
Yeah.
It just has caught up to him, and now other teams are doing it.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. The draft will be fun. I'll be keeping an eye on it. I have softball, but it'll be fun to keep an
They
eye on.
got 2 more things on basketball.
Go ahead.
Of course, everyone probably knows this, but Jordan sold his stake in his team for $3 billion.
And he only paid like $180 million.
Yeah. So
It's only
he made
respect.
a lot of money. Whew.
Mhm.
There is nobody in any sport as a player that has made more money for themselves than Michael Jordan. Like
And
nobody.
It's literally all becomes the foundation of a shoe deal. Like
Yeah.
if you can get, you're gonna
Which,
see
if you have
guys.
not seen Air,
I haven't got to see it yet. I want to.
that is so good.
I want to see it. It's
So good.
It's a great cast of actors.
Yeah.
Like it's one. I want to see. Even though my understanding is some of the details are a little skewed, just to make the movie.
Well,
good.
yeah, you
But-
got to. You got to.
But no, all in all, like the guys that get those lifetime deals, we will likely end up seeing, if they do it right, LeBron, Steph Curry, they're gonna be guys that get to that $1 billion. I mean,
Yeah.
LeBron's already a billionaire and he's still in the league. So, and Steph's another guy that he's a smart guy, good head on his shoulders. He makes
Yeah.
good investments. Do we think he becomes worth $5 million like Michael Jordan's worth right now? Probably not, unless you buy a team and sell it. But buying a team and selling it is not as easy as it used to be, because 20 years ago, or like Jordan proved, 10 years ago, you could buy a team for nickels.
He actually had a small stake, and then whenever it came available, he
bought
bought
the rest.
a few, and then ended up getting a larger part of the company.
Makes sense.
So that's what it was. He actually kind of nickel and dimed it before he had a large part,
he
and
made
then
a
he ended
killing
up
off of
selling
it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And of course that was because for a while Charlotte was god awful.
well, hell, he was.
I mean, they're still
he
not
was coming
great,
in
but-
after they moved and they changed names. Like
Yeah.
he came in and they were the Hornet or the Bobcats,
Bobcats.
and they changed the name. The most popular thing they did while they were the Bobcats was get on One Tree Hill.
Pretty much.
Like they didn't do anything as the Bobcats.
And then the last thing is Slam Ball is coming back
I saw this.
to Las Vegas
Way to
this
keep-
summer.
Keep a little One Tree Hill reference in there. He played in that league.
Well, there you go. There's two little things.
Anytime I can
work
drop a
in
One
some
Tree Hill nugget in, I'll be happy. No, Slam Ball was. I wonder if it's gonna be the same level of.
Dude, it looks like
Physical,
They said
like-
they showed the videos. They were like, it's going to be football meets basketball. They showed people
Trampolines.
just shoving them into the walls. I was like, oh yeah, like this is what we missed. Like I loved watching that.
Yeah.
Like
It'll be a fun.
sometimes it was just dumb, but at the same time, it was still fun.
It's not any kind of like skill. It's just gonna be entertaining. Oh no! Did I just close that? I did just close that. That was a really important thing that I just closed. That's okay. I remember it. So, with that, we're gonna roll into a little bit of baseball. As y'all randomly heard me say the score earlier, and I've been tracking throughout the game. The College World Series is going right now. LSU is playing for their lives. They have to win to beat against number 1 Wake Forest to force a game tomorrow. Winner would play Florida in the national championship, as Florida knocked out TCU today to advance. LSU is up 5-2 right now in the 5th inning. But Wake Forest has 2 runners on and 1 out, so hopefully they can get them done, get the outs there, because go Tigers. But away from college baseball, sliding into the major leagues, I want to bring up, I'm going to say, first and foremost, the Cincinnati Reds have been on a tear, and they've won 11 in a row. And if I'd have told you at any point in the last 6 months that the Cincinnati Reds would be in first place in a division of baseball, would you have agreed? Believe me?
Nope.
Not at all. Well, they're in first. We know the Tampa Bay Rays are in first. The Twins are in first by 1 game. The Rangers are still in first. The Braves. Like I said, the Reds by a game and a half. The Diamondbacks. Would you have thought the Diamondbacks would be in first place in their division? Exactly.
I would not.
So, there's some schmuck out there and maybe he's not a schmuck, maybe he's a genius, who in the preseason, long before any of this, put $1.62 down on a list of teams leading the divisions at the end of the season. And his divisional list included, he said he thinks the Rays, the Twins, and the Rangers win the American League. The Braves, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks win the National League. Does that sound familiar?
A little bit.
Doesn't it sound like the
sounds
teams that I
very
just
familiar.
said now in first? Well, because of the Reds' 11-game streak and they're now 5 games over 500, that guy's $1.62 bet, if it was the holdout, if the season ended today, he could cash that bad boy in for $1.92 million on $1.62. Because the Reds were a plus 6,000 to win the division. The Diamondbacks were a plus 4,000 to win the division, and they have a 3-game lead. Like, they're comfortably in first right now.
Yeah.
The Rangers were a plus 650 over the Astros, who they currently have a 5-game lead over. The Rays were like plus 350, so not as crazy. The Twins, the Braves were actually the favorite all along. So here's the question I asked you, though. Because when you do a parlay bet like this and you get in a spot where you might make an insane amount of money like this, the bettor gives you an option to cash out early for a prize. Obviously not $1.92 million. Right now, if he cashed out, he would get $8,000. Do you let it ride because it was only $1.62, or do you take the $8,000, or do you let it run a little longer and see? What are you going?
I would let it run.
You're gonna go the whole season no
Yeah.
matter what? I would too. My wife would tell me to cash out. I think that the only way that I cash out is if I have a fear of something causing it, and I get to the All-Star break and I'm getting offered 6 figures. You're a few weeks from the All-Star game. If I get to a spot where the Reds are very young, and I have more faith in the Diamondbacks than I do the Reds based off some stats that I know. Like last year, the Diamondbacks were above 500 against everyone in baseball but the Dodgers and the Padres, and this year they figured them out.
Okay.
And that explains why they're able to be so successful, is that maybe they weren't as bad as we thought preseason. The Reds, though, have sucked since as long as we've been around nowadays. Like, it's been a long time since Cincinnati was any good. They are currently...
It's been a long time.
Oh, yeah, and they're ahead of their window.
What's his name? Ryan Howard?
Yeah.
Basically since then.
Ryan Howard's in Philly.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so that's
right. Yeah.
We're talking big red machine
All right,
here.
so we're going back to King Griffey Jr. when he was with
even
the Reds.
before them. Like, we're probably talking closer to like Johnny Bench. Like, the Reds have been bad for a long time. And so you look at the Reds, though.
Like Barry Larkin and all
Yeah,
that.
and they weren't even winning a lot then. They just had good players.
Wow. Okay.
And so I don't know that I could trust the Reds to hold out. I think the Braves are going to be fine. I think the Rangers have a legitimate chance, are holding well. The Twins could be questionable because of the Guardians, if they were to get going.
They're right in front of you.
No, I can't get myself to say a terrible name. Tampa Bay, they could slide because of how good that division is, but they look comfortable. I just don't know that I trust the Reds. So if you see the Reds see a 3-game losing streak and drop out of first place, like, I think that's when I'm hitting the panic button and I'm considering my cash out, because I don't know that I trust Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, I can
Even at
totally understand
$1.62, I'm all about writing it out because it's way more money than I had at $1.62.
Exactly.
It's life-changing money.
that. Yeah.
But I don't know that I trust the Reds, even with the young guys that they've brought in and everything else that's gone on. The only other thing, baseball, that I wanted to go in is that we've talked about rule changes. And I did notice, we talked about would we see pitch clocks and things going in at lower levels. The College World Series is using a pitch clock.
Okay.
So they are
okay.
teaching these players what to be ready. It's not happening in Little League yet, but it is happening at that level. So one of the things that we changed in baseball a few years back was we got rid of the DH. Or we instituted the universal DH. Excuse me, I said that wrong. Pitchers weren't allowed to hit because pitchers can't hit, right? You know, they were horrible. They were a waste of an at-bat. Well, There's some numbers right now that say that maybe we were better off letting the pitchers bunt and at least have a little laugh out of the occasional pitcher bump. Because there's 3 teams right now that their current DH spot is batting an average of under 200. There's another 6 with an under 225 average. The major league average for OPS is 729, which is on place plus slugging. 13 teams are seeing their DHs have an OPS worse than league average hitters. The Mariners, who aren't a bad team, roster-wise, are hitting 161 with a 553 OPS, which isn't even the worst OPS in the majors from a DH.
And that's maddening because Edgar Martinez is one of the greatest DHs
is
of all
one
time.
of the greatest DHs of all time. And that's the thing. You thought when we saw the DH that we'd see more Ortiz, Martinez, guys, we're talking those kind of guys that could
the latter part of someone's career.
Yes,
where
the
they
guys
moved
that
to
were just
position.
great hitters
Yeah.
that just stepped in and hit. No. The Brewers, who are in second in their division, have hit 3 home runs and a 533 OPS with only a 184 batting average. The Detroit Tigers have used 16 different designated hitters and started 9 different players there. And they have combined to hit 206 for 3 home runs.
It is weird because in the American League back in the day, you used to see your DH
Absolutely.
in the
MVP voting.
3 or 4 hole,
Every time.
and now you probably have them at your 8 or 9.
Yes,
on a
because
lot of
they're
teams.
not hitting
Yeah,
the ball.
It's crazy.
The Mariners had gone out and signed A.J. Pollock and Tommy La Stella, guys who are usually decent hitters, to be DHs, and they're not hitting. One of them has been cut. Pollock's not playing. Nelson Cruz, in his prime, was a great as a DH, and now that's all he is. I mean, you've got guys that are just a list of guys who just are not producing. And Ohtani runs away with an all-star vote as a designated hitter because there's nobody else worth it. Like, none of these guys.
Yeah.
Like, the DH could literally be the 4th best outfielder. No, he's an outfielder. So, no, it's just... It's insane how that was supposed to fix the game. It was supposed to add hitting. It was... and you've got guys that are just awful numbers. Willie Calhoun has been the primary DH for the Yankees. He's had
Man, I'm glad the Rangers got rid
25
of him.
games started for them, and they're the 2nd best team when it comes to the DH. They also get Giancarlo Stanton when he's healthy hitting there. But they've had 17 home runs hit from that position. The Rays have seen 14 home runs, or 15 home runs hit from that position. Bryce Harper has already started 40 games with a bum arm, and he's the 5th best DH in all of baseball.
Good.
And he's playing with one arm!
That's just sad.
The bottom tier, Jesse Winkler, A.J. Pollock, Miguel Cabrera.
So what's going on?
Like, these guys just aren't hitting. And I think you're seeing a lot of teams that are willing to just take a guy who still brings more upside than what their pitcher was doing, but could also be a roster spot to use for defense. And so they just play the matchup. But you're just not seeing guys like Kyle Schwarber isn't even primarily DHing for the Phillies. He plays a lot of outfield. Like, can Kyle Schwarber be a guy that you look at and go, he ought to be a DH? He's not a 5-star glove. He's a power hitter, but part of the problem is we don't have those average hitting guys anymore that we used to have. So,
I was looking at a list of this, and to be honest, I think we just kind of got used to the big names because you got David Ortiz, Edgar Martinez, Harold Baines, and Paul Molitor, and then of course Frank Thomas moved from first to DH.
Yeah,
But for the most part, almost 80% of his career was first base.
for sure.
And then after that, you have Chili Davis, Hal McRae, Don Baylor, Travis Hafner, Brian Downing, Jose Canseco, Jim Rice, Andre Thornton, Mike Sweeney, Victor Martinez, Cecil Fielder, Jason Giambi,
But you still take some of those guys over some of these numbers that I'm
Rafi
giving out for you.
Palmeiro,
The voting, the
Dave
current,
Winfield.
the nominee for the Padres as their DH on the All-Star ballot right now is Matt Carpenter, batting 179 with 4 home runs and 26
Oh, and Greg
RBIs.
Vaughn.
Yeah. Some of these guys on here are just like JD Martinez has been good, but he's still hitting 257, and he's been exclusively a DH for a few years now.
So
McCutcheon's exclusively a DH.
like when I look at that and I see the names, especially like of just the guys in the 90s,
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot of them. Wasn't a lot of the names.
But you also have to
And they
remember
were
that they
all
were
in
only
their
doing it in
league.
one league.
Yeah.
Because
So
we didn't
now
have
you're
those
opening
guys.
it up to two.
Everyone. So we should
So-
double up.
You would think, but you're also narrowing it down.
Yeah.
Because you had in the 90s, you basically had like 4 guys that were like the top DHs. They were all American.
Oh, yeah.
But now you're spreading it out to the entire league, and there's just not that quality.
Yeah.
So now that I looked at that, I've got a better understanding of why it's not good. Because they're just like, even back then, if it was the entire league, I don't know that we would see very much.
I guess I just feel like there's got to be more players out there. Maybe they're in the minors because we haven't figured out their position yet, and that's the worry, is that they're so worried about making sure they have that position flexibility. But I'm sorry, your rosters are bigger now. You get 26 versus 25. You can't tell me that every organization doesn't have just one guy who just hits. Like he doesn't have to catch for shit. I don't care if he can't read a fly ball, he can't field a grounder. David Ortiz was awful when he had to play first base in the World Series.
Yeah.
But you put him in because he was going to bat 385 and everything else. And so, I mean, there's a couple of guys, I guess, like Jorge Soler's been good, but he's still a pretty solid outfielder. Like, there's just not any guy that stands out and just says,
and I think a lot of it is like a lot of the older guys in the league, they're not really
producing
consistently
anymore.
Yeah, so it's not really because that's typically what that DH spot was used for. Back then was for that older guy that is no longer be able to produce.
He could still hit, and I think we'll still see certain guys do that. I think eventually you'll see a Mike Trout become a primary DH.
Yeah,
you'll see.
We'll definitely see that.
Absolutely, and he'll play some outfield, but he'll become that primary DH guy. You'll see guys like an Adolis Garcia, who are a good hitting guy, that aren't. He eventually in the future could be a guy like that. Just looking at guys that are in rosters right now. These are young guys.
Yeah,
like, we're
I
not
think
talking.
in a few years we'll start seeing. I think we'll start seeing the DH come along, just because we'll start seeing those kind of older guys transition to it.
Yeah.
And like for some reason right now we're just in that. It's almost like
like a limbo of how you want to use it.
Yeah. And you just really don't have those guys there yet, and a lot of the older guys that
Aaron Judge will become a
use
full-time DH at some point for the Yankees.
Were more like they wasn't power hitters, so they never really stuck out.
Yeah.
So we're finally gonna get to that eventually, where you're going to see a lot of the power hitters back in that spot again, just because they're older. So I think that is something that's happening because you really don't see those. Kind of like Mo Vaughn and Big Papa. You don't see those bigger guys anymore. You really don't see that thick dude that much. So, and I think that's a lot like Frank Thomas. I mean, he wasn't a thick dude, he was a built dude.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, even Jim Thome. Jim Thome was a guy that played some DH.
And I mean, I guess we also factor in that these kids are training their whole lives to play positions. So, obviously, they're going to have a skill set of it. Yeah. But, like, I guess at some point, you just pick to be a stud hitter, because right now that's the biggest missing thing. Like, honestly, if my kid was a baseball person, we would train 2 times the hitting for every 1 time of defense. I'm just gonna be honest, because he's gonna get drafted if he can rake, and someone's gonna put him in and go, we'll figure out where you can fill in here and there, but go ahead.
I watched the video and man, I can't remember everything about it, but it kind of talked about that. They were like, everyone right now is training their kids to be these athletes, and they're missing this like golden opportunity for them to be a good player.
To niche. And
then let the older generation, or not the older, but once they get into high school and college, let them mold them into an elite athlete on top of what they learned as a young kid, because you're putting so much on them as a young kid that they're not developing certain things that they should be developing as hitters, as fielders. You're trying to train them to be these athletes and excel at everything. Let them excel at something and
Yeah.
let someone
But-
else build on
And
it.
but a lot of that becomes the specialization culture that we have, where these kids are playing like AAU ball and select baseball at 9, 8,
Yeah. Yeah.
10 T-balls tournaments. Like, what in the hell are we doing? And not
That's what it was.
nothing
It was
against,
about
I have
pitching.
friends
It was
that do
about
it, and
pitching.
yeah, and nothing against it. Like, I have friends that their kids play. Like, if your kid's enjoying it, enjoy it. Like, I'm not knocking on it. If that's your path, go for it. I want them to have fun. I want the kids to enjoy the game. That's the most important part to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that, like, I read a study that literally said, I think we might be going along lines here, that said that kids who play multiple sports leading up to the age of about 14 tend to excel more when they get to that age.
Maybe it was the opposite. Maybe it was teach them to be an athlete,
Yes.
and then
And
yeah,
then it was
I
that.
think that's what it was.
Because what I saw was, the one I saw was like, if you let these kids, like, look at Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts could be an athlete elite level at multiple. He's one of the best bowlers in the world.
And then we might be talking about the same thing, because they also talked about anytime you look at these kids in the College World Series, how many of them do you think is pitched in a World Series in professional baseball?
Oh, for sure.
There's like less than 1%.
Oh, yeah.
But you've got all these other kids out there that are playing, and they make it.
Yeah, and that's,
Like-
well, I've always said that I'm not a fan of
because,
college pitchers.
Like, to me, or not College World Series, but Little League World
Little League World
Series.
Series, yeah.
And like,
You see some of them make it.
what I see most when I hear this is basically like we're putting so much on them at such a young age instead of letting them just like live their life in a way, like their life is that.
Yeah, and like
I would be the same parent too. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna try to act like I wouldn't be.
No, and I get it. There's kids who, like, I have a friend whose son loves baseball. He genuinely loves baseball, and like he's dealing with an arm ailment right now as a pitcher at like 9, and he's so determined to play baseball that he wants to practice pitching with the other hand. So if the kid loves it, go for it. I'm all about it. My kid is pretty athletic, but my kid has not found a sport where he's just like, soccer's been the closest one where he just kind of like is gravitating to, willing to do extra stuff and do. But he's now played football. He's played baseball. He's played basketball. Well, he hasn't really played basketball, but he's practiced basketball. He hasn't played organized. But I think that there are some where obviously that niche has to be able to do all of it. But there are kids who need to do more sports at a young age, and then let them get to that high school coaching, middle school coaching, and really focus on it at that point. It kind of goes into the talk of Baby Gronk last week. where the dad pushed this envelope all along, and when he gets to middle school and starts seeing other kids, like he's probably not going to be that good. Like he might get exposed.
We're going to forget about him in 3 years.
Exactly, and so it'll be it's interesting. It's a debate that goes on. Like there's so many sides to the athletics of kids going with it that it's hard to make a decision on that.
Okay,
But
so
LSU just got a walk on
let's,
a count. Someone messed up the TV.
before we end this, let's talk about one more thing on baseball.
Go for it.
Okay,
Always open.
you've got 3 players. You have to bench one, you have to cut one, and you have to start
You're
one.
about to do this one that we saw on Facebook.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I can do this. Let's go.
Okay, you have Barry Bonds, King Griffey Jr., and who's the other one? Right fielder. Tony Gwynn. All right, so you have those 3, and obviously my argument for it was the correct argument. So to me, I think you have to word this differently. So I'll word it differently so it makes more sense.
It comes in that they can
You
all
have-
play every outfield.
You only have So because Griffey was a center fielder, Barry Bonds was a left fielder, and Gwynn was a right fielder, technically you choose all 3 because you can have all 3 because they play different positions.
At the end of Griffey's career, he was playing a lot of right field. So technically, he transitioned.
He was a center fielder.
He was for the majority. But honestly,
Let-
if you want me to just pick the 3, I can tell.
So this is the way I'm going to reword it so that Jeremy, this is the way that it should have been worded for it to make sense. Okay, you can only start one because you only have enough money for one.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
a
only have
start.
enough money for one to start.
And then one's coming off the bench.
And one has to come off the bench.
Okay.
You can't have the third one. So, with it being the correct way to use it, who would it be?
I'm starting Barry Bonds because at the end of the day, even if you just gave me pre-steroided Barry Bonds, he is arguably one of the greatest players we ever played. He won multiple MVPs, multiple batting titles, and no one got on base off walks and things like that like Barry Bonds did. And then this is the one that's going to be unpopular, is that I love Griffey, but if I'm bringing a guy off the bench, that means I'm likely pinch hitting him, which means that as great as Griffey was defensively, I'm going to lead to the guy I can trust more to get the hit versus the home run. And because of that, I want the guy that's going to put the ball in play. I will put Tony Gwynn off my bench, and I would have to cut Griffey. I love Griffey, and if I went by who I like the most, Bonds is cut because he's a douche.
Yeah.
But
Griffey is my favorite baseball player.
Yeah.
Of these three, for this reason, Griffey is the one getting cut from me.
I'm picking on the winning lineup.
And the reason is the same reason as you. I'll expand on it. Barry Bonds played a whole lot longer.
100%.
So
and it was healthy.
you get that.
Now,
you get
steroids
that
probably involved in that, but he was healthy.
Then Tony Gwynn played a hell of a long time too. And healthy. And then Ken Griffey Jr. had several years where he was just constantly injured.
The number of injuries that Griffey had, I think I've said this before, maybe not on here, but it was the amount of almost four total seasons of baseball, and at his average home run pace, which was like 30 home runs, if you give Griffey 4 seasons of baseball, Griffey is like 20 home runs away from Barry Bonds and likely plays another year to try to catch him.
Wow.
Like that's the kind of
that's
the amount of
yes.
When you put it down and realize that Griffey was hitting all those home runs, he was a capable player, and I think honestly the thing that really bit Griffey was, and it kind of goes back to our discussion about the DH.
Such a great defensive player.
He was a balls to the wall defensive player that allowed his body to start breaking down. When Griffey signed his big deal to go to Cincinnati, that required him to play defense all the time. It never gave them the out to make him a DH. And I'm all for it. I like the idea of the pitchers hitting their part of the game. They should be. I'm not going to change my viewpoint on that ever. But if Griffey stays in the American League because of being the style of balls-to-wall player that he was, he stays healthy longer on that second contract.
I would agree with that. Yeah. But yeah, that's the main reason.
And that changes this whole debate.
Yeah, it definitely would. That's the main reason why I would, as much as I love him. Like,
this dude just tried to steal home plate in the College World Series. Sorry. He got out by a mile. Freaking idiot. But we're still up 5-2. Go Tigers.
Oh, okay. Well, but yeah, that's the way that I would do it too, and I 100% agree with everything he said.
I'd 100% do hypotheticals like this all the time. Too.
With the way that it was worded in the group, like I said it the way I said it on purpose because the way that it was worded, you can choose all of them without having to cut bench or
because of it being 3 outfielders. People just took it as outfield and just assumed outfield.
Yeah.
Well, they played different for majority of their careers. It's not like saying, "Do you want?" We're not gonna answer, but I'll tease you one for next year.
You know what? Let's go ahead and do it for this one.
You want to answer one more?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's see.
I'll go. We're gonna go completely. We're gonna go only. Well, let's see. I'll go only first baseman. I'm just gonna shoot one.
I was thinking that too.
I'm gonna go. Oh man, I'm trying to think of a good set of them here. Let's go. Man, maybe I should have done third baseman. I'm gonna go third baseman. Third baseman are easier. And this one will be hard because I have my favorite players gonna be involved here. I'm gonna say Chipper, Mike Schmidt, and Adrian Beltre.
Ooh. Ooh.
I love 2 of the players involved, and Mike Schmidt is an a-hole at times, but he's an all-time great.
Wow. We'll do this for next week.
But I can sit and do things like this all the time. I'll gladly incorporate these regularly into the show and have fun with them. So along with lists, we know we had a request for more lists. So
we'll do that. We'll do this for next week because that's a good one, and I have to think about that.
And I just threw that off the top of my head. So all right, but other than that, y'all, thanks for listening and go LSU.